The Las Vegas Raiders have officially begun their search for a new defensive coordinator, and one of the first candidates to be interviewed is someone familiar to the team, Rob Leonard, the current defensive line coach. Leonard, who has earned a strong reputation for his work with the Raiders' defensive line over the past few years, is seen as a coach with a promising future. According to Jeremy Fowler, Leonard interviewed for the position on Monday, making him the first known internal candidate for the job. As many of us remember, Pete Carroll, who has been involved in the coaching search, mentioned in his introductory press conference that the Raiders would consider some of the coaches who were with the team last year. Leonard, being one of those familiar faces, is now a top contender. While there is a lot of excitement about the possibility of Leonard stepping up to this new role, it's important to recognize the difference between being a defensive line coach and being a coordinator. As a first-time coordinator, Leonard would face the challenge of designing and calling defensive plays, which is a big step up. That said, Leonard has shown great potential, and if he were to be hired, he'd have the guidance of Pete Carroll overseeing the process. The Raiders' interest in him suggests they are looking to build on the success of their defensive line, which has been one of the team's stronger units in recent seasons. It also shows that they're keen on maintaining continuity, bringing back familiar faces who understand the system and the players. Of course, there's also the matter of whether or not Leonard is ready to take on the full responsibility of a coordinator. While his coaching future looks bright, this would be his first time in such a significant role. There's a possibility the Raiders could also look to bring back Patrick Graham, the former defensive coordinator, who has been interviewing with other teams, including the Jacksonville Jaguars. Graham's work with the Raiders' defense, especially given the injuries the team faced, was impressive. Despite challenges, his unit ranked among the top 15 in total yards allowed per game last season, and the year before, the defense had the #1 ranking in the second half of the season. The Raiders are reportedly still considering Graham, though no official interview details have been confirmed. Regardless of who ends up with the job, the Raiders are clearly looking for someone who can build on the defensive success they've seen in recent years. In terms of personnel, the defense will likely have many of the same players as last season. Key players like Jack Jones, Corin Bennett, and Isaiah Pola-Mao are either under contract or, in Pola-Mao's case, a restricted free agent, making it easier to bring them back. While some defensive players, like Nate Hobbs and Trayvon Mullen, are free agents, there's a good chance many of the core pieces will remain. Leonard's familiarity with these players could make him a great fit for the role, especially with Pete Carroll's guidance to ensure the defensive schemes are properly implemented. If Leonard does get the job, it will certainly be a new chapter for the Raiders' defense, with potential adjustments to the style of play. While there may be similarities to Patrick Graham's defense, we could see some new elements introduced, particularly with Carroll's influence. It'll be exciting to see how the Raiders move forward with their defensive coordinator search and whether Rob Leonard will be the one to take the helm. It's exciting to see the Raiders giving opportunities to people who have the potential to make an impact. But before we dive deeper into that, I wanted to give a quick update. Earlier today, I came across some interesting news about two former general managers of the Raiders. Reggie McKenzie and Dave Ziegler, both of whom had stints with the Raiders, are now heading to the Tennessee Titans. McKenzie, who played a key role in the Raiders' draft successes, particularly in 2014, is known for his solid leadership and smart decisions. Ziegler, on the other hand, had his share of successes and challenges while managing the Raiders, particularly with some draft picks that didn't turn out as hoped, like Alex Leatherwood over Christian Darrisaw, and others like Terry Wilson and Brenton Young, who many felt were reaches. Still, Ziegler's departure will be something to watch, especially as he joins McKenzie in Tennessee. Shifting gears, let's talk about our new head coach, Pete Carroll. At 73 or 74 years old, Carroll brings a wealth of experience, having built Super Bowl-winning teams and successful college programs. One of the most important things he shared in his press conference was his philosophy on building a winning team. He's a firm believer in supporting the quarterback position, which he acknowledged as one of the toughest in all of professional sports. Carroll emphasized that it's not just about finding the right quarterback, but about building a solid team around them. According to him, success comes from protecting the quarterback, running the ball effectively, playing great defense, and taking care of the football. Carroll also made an interesting point about the reality of the quarterback position. There are only a handful of quarterbacks in the league who truly excel, and outside of those few, most quarterbacks are either average or inconsistent. That's why he believes the key is not to rely solely on the quarterback to carry the team, but to build a roster that supports them. This idea of competition and solid team building was reinforced by an example from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where many of their roster spots were filled by undrafted players or draft picks, all fighting for their place on the team. Carroll's approach isn't about creating an offense that revolves around a star quarterback who does everything. Instead, it's about building a team where the quarterback can thrive without needing to carry the entire load. This strategy isn't about being flashy, but about consistency, protecting the ball, and playing smart football. Look at how successful teams like the Chargers have been by protecting their quarterbacks and minimizing turnovers. It's clear that Carroll's strategy is focused on creating a balanced, competitive team that can consistently win, and that's a refreshing outlook for the Raiders moving forward. The Raiders have a lot of potential, especially on the defensive side of the ball, even though the offense may not have flashy numbers. Winning games when it matters is the key to success, and that's what will drive the team forward. The defense, particularly the defensive line, is impressive. With a fully healthy Malcolm Koonce, the Raiders have a top-tier trio in Koonce, Max Crosby, and Wilkins. While Koonce hasn't proven himself consistently as a top 10 player yet, his potential is clear. If he fully recovers from his ACL injury, he could be a top player in just a year or two. With these guys, the Raiders could have one of the league's best defensive lines. The linebackers, however, are a bit more average, and the secondary, though talented, struggled with injuries this past season. Players like Marcus Epps, Nate Hobbs, Jack Jones, and Corin Bennett all missed time. If the Raiders can add depth, especially to the linebacker core, and get healthy in the secondary, their defense could carry the team. This could give the offense the freedom to focus on running the ball, minimizing turnovers, and being more conservative, allowing the defense to take charge. To make this work, the Raiders will also need to strengthen the running back position. This could be a key area to address in the offseason. The Ravens and Chargers have both found success in recent years by opting for veteran running backs rather than drafting new ones, and the Raiders may want to follow suit. By signing proven players rather than taking a chance on rookies, the Raiders could find stability and success in the running game. When it comes to the quarterback position, there are options out there, though not all of them are realistic for the Raiders. Geno Smith, who had a solid year with the Seahawks, seems more likely to stay in Seattle, where he has established himself. While Pete Carroll helped him return to form, it would make more sense for Smith to stay with the Seahawks than reunite with Carroll in Las Vegas. However, there are still other veteran quarterbacks available. Going the veteran route may make more sense for the Raiders, rather than selecting a quarterback from a weaker draft class. If the Raiders take a quarterback early in the draft, they would essentially be committing to him as their future leader, which might not align with Carroll's vision of building a stronger, more complete roster first. Veterans like Daniel Jones could be a more realistic target. Though Sam Darnold may not be available, there's always a chance that the Panthers could make a move, especially if they decide to draft another quarterback. Darnold could be an interesting option, especially since John Spytek's success with Baker Mayfield last year showed that a change of scenery can work wonders. Ultimately, the Raiders need to find the right quarterback to fit their system, and bringing in a veteran might be the smartest route to take. There are a few quarterbacks the Raiders could target this offseason, and some of them will be available in free agency. Daniel Jones is one possibility, though he may be less likely to leave the Giants after his solid performance this season. Derek Carr, while not a free agent, could potentially be a target, but the more realistic option might be someone like Joshua Dobbs. Dobbs, who had a chance to play with the 49ers and showed promise, could be a great fit for the Raiders. At 29 years old, he's a veteran with experience, including a decent stint starting for the Cardinals when Kyler Murray was injured. Given his performance and potential, Dobbs could be an intriguing choice for the Raiders. Another potential target could be Malik Willis, currently the backup for the Green Bay Packers. Willis is under contract for 2025, which means the Raiders would have to trade for him. If they offered a fourth-round pick, it might be worth it to bring him in, especially if Green Bay isn't committed to him long-term. While bringing in a veteran makes the most sense for the Raiders, there are still options in the draft. The third round could offer some solid quarterbacks, like Jalen Morrow or Jackson Dart, who could be available. There are also some other names to watch, such as Gabriel Dillon, a Canadian prospect who impressed at the CGS All-Star Game and was recently invited to the Senior Bowl. Brady Cook is another quarterback to keep an eye on as well. Even Shatter Sanders, who's getting a lot of buzz, could potentially be available in the second round. If he is, the Raiders might want to take a chance on him, possibly even with the sixth overall pick. However, there are concerns about his athleticism and how he handles pressure, which could be something to monitor. Ultimately, the Raiders have a lot of options, and it'll be up to Pete Carroll and John Spytek to figure out the best direction to go. They both have a history of success with veteran quarterbacks, and this year seems to be a good opportunity to follow that route. It's a deep quarterback pool with a lot of experienced players available, and the Raiders might be better off bringing in a seasoned veteran and then looking for a potential future star in the later rounds of the draft. What do you guys think about the Raiders' direction under Pete Carroll? Do you agree with this approach, or do you think they should go in a different direction? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time with another video.